happy today again. This is William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. And this is Solopreneur Conversations. Solopreneur Conversations is our weekly show. It's designed to kind of have a conversation with solopreneurs and about solopreneurs. Some of the things that I won't say keep us up late at night or keep us distracted during the day. I don't know. There's a number of topics that can come up. But today the conversation is your money, and the more that I really look at how my money or our money is showing up within my business, within my life, the more I will learn how much I'm a solopreneur and how I'm not. So as I do, I bring in a subject matter expert or a guest, a friend, to join in the conversation and see how we can help the solopreneur. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing great. This is the moment where I am great. That breath, I probably should have taken that breath before I said that, but thank you for that. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
All right, deep breath. That always feels really good, and I forget to do it enough. I'm Deb Williams, and I'm a CPA in Maryland. I live in Rockville, Maryland. And I wear lots of different hats. I do some traditional tax and accounting work, been doing that for many years. And I've been branching out over the last few years into more the behavioral side and the money coaching side. And then this year, just for grins, in the last couple of months, I decided to be the treasurer for a ballot initiative in Montgomery County, Maryland. So that's been kind of fun. That's been totally different than anything I've done, but it's a little volunteer thing, and it allowed me to get to know some different people that right here where I live, and to support something I believe in. And also I got even invited to a Friday night poker game online. So I know, I was like, never know when you're going to make new friends.
Right. Absolutely. So the conversation for today is your money.
Yeah.
So how does that show up for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would be lying if I didn't say it showed up for me daily, and sometimes multiple times daily, because of running my own business, which I've been doing for probably 30 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I've done other things. I owned a restaurant. That was owning my own business too. I worked for an accounting firm, was an employee and did all that. But most of my career has been in the working for myself. And so that's goes with the territory, is always managing your money and wondering, when you're going to get paid for that thing you did, because it's not an automatic paycheck. It can be scary, but it also, I choose mostly to look at it from the standpoint of that I get to run things the way I want and what I believe in, and that gives me a lot of comfort. But the money worries are there on an everyday basis, and so I have a kind of a simple system of what I do for myself, since I'm one person shop and I keep my own books and things. Is I kind of just stay about I kind of keep a month ahead of myself in terms of how I keep my records. And that way I always kind of know what's coming down the pike, but I don't look at it every day. And I don't sweat over it every day. I make a very conscious choice not to do that, but to just keep my eye on the game, especially in the world that we live in. You kind of have to.
Right.
But I've been doing it for long enough. And what I guess I would say is that if you commit to that kind of thing, then it becomes like other things, like exercise, diet, and whatever. Like if you commit to something, then it'll eventually become good enough habit that it'll work. It'll just work, and you won't think about it a lot.
Yeah, I hear you. I've recognized, and I've heard in a couple, business trainings and I guess business coaches, is your relationship to your numbers, right? is basically is your business, right? Right? And
Hmm.
there has been so many times where I just feel like, I don't want to say I'm overwhelmed with my numbers, or I don't want to see them. I don't want to acknowledge them. It's like, I just want to, coach, or I just want to, write. Why do I have to worry about all that? Why do I have to worry about my money, right? It's like it'll take care of itself. We hear things that, do what you love and the money will take care of itself. But there has to be an understanding that we have
Yeah.
to take care of it.
Yeah, I look at it like, I kind of phrase it as a two-track system, where one track is living the life you love, and the other track is doing the mundane things that have to be done in order to have the life you love.
Mm-hmm.
So and then that conversation about doing the mundane things, and also, well, both operating on both tracks. We all have behaviors towards our money that are deeply ingrained in us, and that's where the money coaching part comes in. We have things that have been told to us, or we have internalized since we were young. And just even expressions that you might have heard as you were growing up, like, money doesn't grow on trees, and
right.
the early bird gets the worm, and whatever. So these are things that come from one generation to the other that get passed down, and they're as deeply rooted as genetics. They are part of genetics, really, if you think
Right.
about it. So I try to help people do some of that work. Some people are very reticent to do that kind of work because it's very personal. Shame
Right.
can be involved and things like that. And one of the things I was told by my coach, the person who trained me in this one particular thing, she told me not to be careful that I don't share too much about my own personal story, but I do share this. And here's the thing. I lost a lot back about 10 years ago. And it was in the recession. And I was not the only one that got hit by that. And I'm talking a lot. And also my marriage ended and my children left home.
Right.
And I've also today, looking back on that, I mean, where I ended up today, I've never been happier.
Right.
So
wow.
I don't have as much, but I don't need as much. And I
Right.
never needed as much as I think I did.
Right.
So you got to be willing to sort of rethink the conversation.
Right. Yeah. There, my loss, was, less than 10 years ago. And it was kind of what I'm still dealing with. And I guess I probably need your services to, but it's like this is about to be a coaching moment, right? But
Whatever.
it is what started to happen before I got back in this solopreneur game, because take another bite at the apple, was that because I lost so much, and because my marriage went to hospice, but I got it out of hospice because that's where my attention went. But then because that's where my attention went, my business just was gone. And so, it was failing. And then when that little attention that I had to it just went gone. And so what showed up for me is that, I can't trust myself. I can't, there are a lot of decisions that I felt that I needed to make, I wanted to make, and it still didn't work out. So I can't trust myself. So there was a lot of things that I was doing as a successful business person that I stopped doing because of the loss. And then my whole relationship with money kind of like showed up front and center, that there was a level of that I was fearful of it. I was fearful that I was basically that I'm going to lose it again, right? I'm fearful
Sure.
that I can't make it again, and fearful that if I make it, I'm going to lose it. That I'm not going to, I didn't quote unquote learn the lesson to have it be my money. It was always, there's a feeling that it's not my money. It's somebody else's money, and that I need to be a better steward of it until I really get that understanding. I should stay out of this money game.
I assume you mean stay out of it in terms of investing it,
Right,
or
and invest in it, trying to, because it feels like even making decisions around it, it's like, just kind of turn that over to somebody else. Have this I don't know, this mentality that somebody else will make better choices around money than I am able to do. So don't even try it.
well, I mean, I think that's a valid thing to say. I mean, I give you an example of somebody who I worked with, one of my clients along the way, who just out of the blue kind of said, should I think I'll buy a rental property, that'll be a good way to invest my money. And I was like, well, what I came down to realizing was that it was going to suck the life out of his ability to run his business. If he was over here fooling around with the real estate market, in a way, he didn't know anything about the real estate market. Why,
Right.
So I questioned him about it. We talked about it, and he ended up not going that route, because I said, there's a lot of other ways to make your money work for you. That just didn't seem like a real good strategy. And so to say I'm not good with money is one. It could mean one of two things, in my opinion. One is that you're smart enough to know when you need help. It can also be a sort of a shadowy archetypal thing, that is where you are professing to be innocent about your money, and therefore I can never be good enough at it. That's also not true. So neither of those things has to be true. It's just kind of what works better for you, and also getting the level of understanding of where that voice in your head is coming from. That's where I talk about going back to your earlier roots of, so in my family's case, my parents fought about money a lot. My father was very tight with the buck, and my mother was not loose with it, but was always fighting him about it. And she was also very creative. So I have these two sides to myself. One's like, screw it, I'm going to spend it however I want. And then there's this part that manages it, like I just described, in how I watch my money, So it's a balancing act that I have to continually pay attention to, so that I don't get too enamored with my with that aspect of my life. Because honestly, what really floats my boat more than having a lot of money is really doing good work, like enjoying people, and being able to help them, and just all kinds of intrinsically non-dollar things.
Right.
And it's also, interesting, where it's election day, I have a broader view of how we really do need to rethink in some big ways how we care for each other, so that we can all jump off at some similar point to have the life we want. And we don't have to spend so much time worrying about money.
Right.
Money is just a construct. Money got started as a way, as a thing to pay, if I'm remembering it right, soldiers in battle. We're talking a couple thousand years ago or so.
Right.
So, it's a power thing, as you know, but you also got to have it. So this is where I say you got to operate on that other track. You got to sort of, you've got to be in the real world. You've got to pay your bills. You got to do this. You got to do that. But you don't have to do it the same way as everybody else. And you certainly don't have to listen to everything that's going on out there in the world. There's so much chatter. Get an app. There's an app for that. You should do this. You should do that. People will say to me, I think I should invest in whatever. And I'm like, well, okay. So put your retirement money in something. I'm like, are you saving for retirement? Well, no, I'm not actually saving for retirement, but I'm just wondering if I should, when I start saving for retirement, should I be investing it in this thing? I'm like, how about you start with the mindset of putting $100 a month away, some minimal, any little bit of money regularly.
Right.
Like you're not there yet. You're over here still.
Right.
And we get ahead of ourselves, I guess.
Right. Yeah. There's something that you said, in your intro about, how many years you've been in business and all that other kind of stuff. And how do you think it's different from, so when you started in a number of years ago to now, where you have the internet, you have all of these quote unquote resources to help you kind of start something and be something. But in some cases, it's more confusing.
It is so much more confusing. I had it so much easier. Just to give you an example, the Internal Revenue Code, when I started working, well, the original Internal Revenue Code was 100 pages or 200 pages. It was, by the time I started working, it was in the 70s, it was 25,000 pages, and today it's more like 75,000 pages. That's just the Internal Revenue Code. It's ridiculous. It's one of the reasons why I've been rethinking. I'm constantly rethinking, you know, my place in all of this. Like, I really am more, I'm an advocate or an activist or a, you know, but I also have very fundamental training in certain things that I can help people with. So, but I really believe we're missing the point in a lot of ways, and that we're asking people, you know, we're sending them over there to look at that shiny object.
Right.
Instead of doing the real internal work that it requires to get comfortable with your money. And because getting comfortable, just to get comfortable, that you only need so much. There's a famous study that says when people get more than something like $75,000 of income, they're not any happier after that point. So there's some level that we're all happy enough, because we can clothe ourselves and feed ourselves and go and to a movie once in a while or whatever. But and I'm not saying don't be rich. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. If that's really, you know, if you have a great idea, we are in a capitalist system, but I think we need much more conscientious, compassionate capitalism for the future. And less technology.
And less technology. I think
less options. Still technology.
Less options, because it does absolutely get overwhelming very quickly. Because, like you said, there's an app for that, and there's so many you know, tools out there to help people. But like I said, at the same time, if you're not helping, you're distracting, right? it's distracting. And until you're doing that work, you don't know exactly what tool will work and what you're doing.
I guess if I were telling people what I would say, use fewer tools, get to learn them really well. I've been using QuickBooks for years. It doesn't mean it's just because it's what I did. There are other great accounting programs out there, but learn one. For a while I was trying to support different accounting programs. I'm like, I can't even barely handle one accounting program and know everything I need to know. That's one thing. And then the other thing is keeping with that, is go do something that will actually give you pleasure and will bring you money eventually, which is go write a note to a client or one you want to be a client. Do something nice for somebody, you know. Say, I was thinking about you. I saw this thing in an article in the paper. I was thinking about you, wondering if this resonates for you or whatever. Those things are far more productive than we have to have robust systems, but we just have to be mindful of when they start taking too much time. I mean, a lot of people will organize their days that way, to say, okay, I don't spend more than this much time on technology, and I sit down every single month and do my books. Those are the smart strategies, is to be a little bit be organized about it. And consistent.
And and a level of consistency too. No, I totally get it. And, you know, my practice of getting overwhelmed and put my head in the sand, that's not an effective way to manage your money, right? You know.
Yeah, one thing you can do, one thing people can do that's free is find, you know, if you know two or three other solopreneurs, get on a Zoom call every month and talk about money. These are going to have to be people you'd be willing to share your stuff with. But get on the phone and talk about your money problems. I mean, when I say problems, you know what I mean? Struggles.
Or the concern, things that
challenges.
That it helps you kind of, because with that it gives you a space to do that. I think that's a great idea, to really, because like I said, for me, it goes from everything's fine, everything's not fine, and it's like shit, right? You're not, you know. And then if you're like in conversations with with someone, at least on a monthly basis, they will see that hey, you be looking at this. You know, you might want to look at this before it's not fine, and that's something that can go from there. There's a last question, because I try not, I recognize that as a solopreneur, we got stuff to do, right? Right, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to keep it too long. But the question that has come up for me within this conversation is, how do I focus on my money and not focus at the same time? Do you understand it? Do you understand
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think what you do, well, just some thoughts, you know, you start to put yourself in places in terms of what you read that talks about other ways to value yourself.
mm,
Because the thing about money is it's very seductive, and it causes us to use that as and it's an easy measure. You know, you can go to
mhm,
your account and say, I have this much money in my account. Oh, I really suck today because I only have $10 versus I have $1 million. Now I don't suck so much. But that's not really how your body is feeling. Your body
mm,
is actually maybe feeling different, and that puts you at odds with it.
right.
So look for opportunities to see the other ways you are valuable to
Mm,
in your circles. That's where the reaching out to potential clients or current clients to add value to their lives. And then also the other thing, the flip side of that. So you're adding value to them, but then there's the flip side of adding value to yourself, which is self-care. And self-care is, for me, been the hugest thing. I've noticed I pay a lot of attention to how I interact with people. And if I start out there in the world judging people, I realize I'm not doing enough self-care. And when I'm not doing enough self-care,
wow.
then money creeps back in, actually, in ways
Mm,
that you are insidious.
right. Wow.
It's really, yeah. I mean, obviously, we could have a conversation about money every month or every week, even about
Right.
a completely different part of it. But it is, there is an aspect of it that does make it the root of all evil.
Right.
And yet I want people to, I want to see people embracing money because it indicates that it's in flow and working with their internal nature and with their way of doing business. So more than anything, I would say, please be doing a business if you can, that you love. And if you can't be, I got another little tip the other night or last night was, you can still do other work. It's like, this is for now work. I have
Mm-hmm.
to make this money over here. And I thought that was a great expression. I'm doing this for now,
Mm,
and I have a plan, and I'm going to not do this forever. So I'm over here doing my day job while I'm building the thing I love.
right.
And look for the balance that way too, because it's a very hopeful way of looking at it too. So you're not shooting on yourself and saying, I need to get out of that place. It's just so horrible. I'm working for a couple of clients I don't love, but at the same time, they're paying my bills right now. And I know I'm keeping my eye on the prize.
Right. Wow. And wow. Now, there's a lot of things that you said there, and I don't know if I will bring you back monthly to have this money conversation, because um, it is definitely something that, for me as a solopreneur, it gets in the way of sometimes what I'm doing and what I'm not doing, because of my understanding. And I love how you said that. Um, it's a it's almost an indicator how you're taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can see that, to allow you to get the flows of it. So thank you very much for being a
You're
part of this
welcome.
conversation. This has been great. I would love if we can say our goodbyes in the green room. Um,
Absolutely.
but so I'll end the show here. But
Thank you. And
thank
have a
you,
great day.
you too. Oh, wow. That's great. I mean, we just started the conversation around money, and I don't know how money is showing up for you, but you don't have to obsess over it. And the more that the money becomes an issue, what I got from this conversation, and it may not be something that was said um, but it's, how am I doing? Am I taking care of myself? I think if I take care of myself, um, the tools, the money, the resources will take care of me. I don't know. That's what's landing. But I invite you to reach out to me at iamwilliambrown.com, a place that helps you be yourself and live your life, for a complimentary coaching session. Have a wonderful day, and because your work is important, but so are you. See you next week for another Solopreneur Conversation.